This is a $42 smart water valve with a built-in flow meter, dual zones, and a feature that most $100 timers don't even offer. I put the Sonoff Hydro Duo through 6 scoring categories, and one of them nearly wrecked the whole review. I've been running it on my outdoor tap for a few weeks now with a dual lawn sprinkler setup. One for the main lawn and one for the outskirt lawn. And I'll walk you through the unboxing, the setup, every score, and the 3 things I wish I'd known before I turned it on. Okay, so the Hydro Duo is a dual-channel smart water valve from Sonoff. It connects over Zigbee or Bluetooth, splits one tap into 2 independently scheduled watering zones, and has a built-in flow meter that tracks exactly how much water each zone uses. At about $42, it's a budget option, roughly a third of what a Rachio smart hose timer costs for 2 zones, and cheaper than the Orbit B-hyve XD 2-outlet timer at $60. Okay, so let's see where this one lands. First up is setup and installation. The hardware side is genuinely solid and dead simple. In the box, you get the valve itself, a brass inlet fitting with a rubber washer, a mesh filter screen, and the manual. No batteries included, and it takes 4 AA's, or you can power it over USB-C with a waterproof silicone cable. You wrap some thread seal tape on your tap, screw on the brass inlet, which is a genuine upgrade over the plastic fittings on cheaper timers. Hand tighten the valve body onto that, and connect your hoses to the A and B outlets. The whole thing took me about 5 minutes, and the only tool I needed was a screwdriver for the battery compartment. There is one important detail worth knowing about. Sonoff says to mount it vertically, not sideways, because the flow meter needs gravity to read accurately. So the physical install is a 10 out of 10. But then I tried to pair it. The first Bluetooth connection to my phone went fine, and I thought I was done. Then it dropped. And dropped again. I could not hold a stable Bluetooth connection for more than a few seconds, and I spent about 20 minutes trying to figure out what was wrong. The fix is to go straight into settings on your very first connection and update the firmware to version 1.0.9 or later. The app said that the update failed, but when I reconnected and went back into the menu, it had updated. And once I did that, every Bluetooth issue disappeared completely, and it's been rock solid since. But there's nothing in the box or the quick start guide that warns you about this, and that first 20 minutes of troubleshooting was genuinely frustrating. That alone cost this category some points, so setup and installation lands at 6.5 out of 10. Next up is zone management, and this is where the Hydro Duo earns its name. You get 2 outlets with fully independent schedules, up to 6 set times per channel, 12 total. Each outlet runs its own program, its own timing, and its own volume target, completely independent of the other. I've got outlet A running on my outskirt lawn with 1 morning watering session, and outlet B handles the main lawn with a morning session plus an early afternoon top-up. You can choose between time-based or volume-based watering for each zone, which is a nice touch. And there's a cycle feature that most people will probably miss in the menus. It lets you split one watering session into multiple shorter cycles with pauses between them. Say you want to deliver 100 liters to your lawn. Instead of one long blast, you can set it to run 2 minutes on, pause, 2 minutes on, pause, 2 minutes on. That's ideal for clay or other hard soil types or slopes where water tends to pool on the surface and run down instead of soaking in. And if you're growing cool season grass like fescue or Kentucky bluegrass, your watering schedule looks completely different from someone with Bermuda or zoysia in a warmer climate. Having per zone seasonal adjustments built in means you don't have to tear everything down and rebuild it twice a year. Now, there is one thing that keeps this category from scoring even higher, and that is that the 2 outlets cannot run at the same time. It's a deliberate design choice from Sonoff. They say that if both valves open simultaneously, the water pressure drops enough that a sprinkler won't spray properly and a drip line gets inconsistent flow. So, if channel A is running and channel B's schedule triggers, B just waits until A finishes. For most homes where a single tap delivers around 10 to 15 liters per minute depending on your water pressure, that's honestly a reasonable call. But I learned this the hard way. I scheduled both zones for the same window, not realizing they'd queue instead of overlap. My main lawn sprinkler sat there waiting in line, and by the time it finally started, the sun was already up and half the water evaporated before it could soak in. The fix is simple once you know it. Just stagger your start times by at least the duration of the first zone. Once I offset them by 30 minutes, everything ran perfectly. The Orbit B-hyve XD, for comparison, can run both ports at the same time if your water pressure supports it. So if simultaneous watering is something you absolutely need, that's the one to look at. So with the dual zone flexibility, the cycle and soak feature, and seasonal adjustments all working well, zone management lands at 8 out of 10. Okay, watering intelligence. The standout here is the built-in flow meter, and it's genuinely one of the best features on this device. It tracks per zone water usage in liters, US gallons or imperial gallons, stores up to 6 months of history, and lets you set volume targets so the valve shuts off after delivering a specific amount instead of just running on a clock. It's basically a fitness tracker for your garden hose. You finally get to see where the water actually goes and how much. And that visibility matters more than most people think. According to the EPA, residential outdoor watering in the US accounts for roughly 8 billion gallons a day, and up to half of that is wasted from overwatering. There's also a weather skip feature that can delay your schedule when rain is forecast within 24 hours. But, and this is becoming a recurring theme with this product, that only works when the valve is connected to a hub over Zigbee. If you're running Bluetooth like I am right now, you're checking the forecast yourself. There's no native soil moisture sensor input either, though if you're running Home Assistant, you can bridge a separate soil sensor to trigger the valve through automations. Between the flow meter, the volume-based watering, and the cycle and soak feature I mentioned earlier, the intelligence is there where it counts. It's just the weather smarts that need a hub to unlock. Watering intelligence lands at 7.5 out of 10. Next up is app and controls. The EWeLink app handles all the scheduling over Bluetooth, and once I got past the firmware issue I mentioned earlier, it's been completely reliable. You set your schedules, choose your volume or time targets, configure your cycle patterns, and all of that runs on the device itself. So even if your phone is out of Bluetooth range, the schedules keep going on their own. There are also manual A and B buttons right on the housing, which is a nice fallback if you just want to trigger a zone quickly without pulling out your phone. The main limitation is that Bluetooth means proximity control only, so you'll need to be physically within range to adjust anything. Without a hub, there's no remote access, no push notifications, and no way to check your water usage from the couch. For a set and forget watering setup that just runs on its own, that's honestly fine. But if you want to tweak schedules on the fly from anywhere, you'll need a hub on top of this. App and controls lands at 7 out of 10. Okay, sensor integration and smart home, and I have a story for this one. I actually tried adding the Hydro Duo to my Homey first, because Homey is a smart home hub that speaks Zigbee, and I figured it would be a natural fit. The pairing itself went smoothly, no issues there. But there's no official Homey support for the Hydro Duo yet, so it shows up as a generic Zigbee device. You can toggle both outlets on and off manually, but only outlet A actually works in a Homey automation. The older single outlet Hydro does have official Homey support, so full Duo support should be around the corner, but it's not there yet. I did set up a weather automation in Homey for outlet A, skip watering when rain is forecast, and it works. But I needed full scheduling on both outlets more than I needed weather smarts on just one, so I dropped back to Bluetooth for now. For full hub support right now, with both outlets working in automations, remote control, voice commands, the whole package, you need either the Sonoff hub running through EWeLink or Home Assistant with a Zigbee dongle. The valve itself is great, but the ecosystem around it is still catching up, and that's the main thing holding this category back. Sensor integration lands at 6 out of 10. And finally, value for money, and this is where the Hydro Duo pulls away from everything else in this category. At about $42 for 2 zones, it's something on its own. The Orbit B-hyve XD is $60 for 2 outlets, plus another $30 for the Wi-Fi hub if you want the smart features. Rachio runs about $150 for 2 zones. And the Eve Aqua is nearly $200 for 2 outlets if you're in the Apple ecosystem. None of those include a flow meter. The Hydro Duo does. There's no subscription, no cloud requirement for basic operation, and the brass inlet suggests this thing is built to last more than 1 season. It's dust tight and protected against water jets, but it does need to come indoors before frost, so keep that in mind if you're in a freezing climate. Sonoff backs it with a 2-year warranty and a 30-day money-back guarantee, which is competitive with Orbit's 2-year coverage and better than Rachio's 1-year valve warranty, though shorter than Gardena's 5 years. The only thing keeping this from a perfect 10 is that you might need a hub on top, and that adds to the total cost. Value for money lands at 9 out of 10. That gives the Sonoff Hydro Duo an overall score of 7.3 out of 10. It's a solid product. The dual zone scheduling, the flow meter, and the cycle and soak feature put it ahead of timers that cost twice as much. The setup friction from the firmware bug and the limited hub ecosystem are what hold it back from scoring higher. Buy this if you've got one outdoor tap, 2 different watering needs, and you want a set and forget schedule that just runs. The Bluetooth path works well, and the price is unbeatable. Skip it if you absolutely need both zones watering at the same time, or if you want full remote control and aren't willing to run a Sonoff hub or Home Assistant. And maybe wait a bit if you're a Homey user. Official Duo support should be coming, and when it does, this device gets a lot more capable overnight. If this helped, hit subscribe. There's a lot more garden tech coming to this channel. And until next time, keep it smart, keep it simple, and keep it green.